All right, but Michael, I don't care about if you lived through it, and I don't care about like Western values. Just tell me what happened with 9/11. Okay. Okay, I'll tell you. There's this book called The Looming Tower, Al Qaeda and the Road to 9/11. It was written by a journalist called Lawrence Wright. This was back way, 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 way long ago when journalists had like reputation, and he was a Pulitzer Prize winner, and so he had his sources checked and it wasn't fake news. But if you don't believe that, then okay, just click away. It's fine. So Lawrence Wright wrote this excellent book that I recently just listened to. It's available on Spotify Premium. Okay? He at the time it was written, just it wasn't that long ago, and so he was retracing history, and it was like fresh in people's minds. So when you listen to it and read the sources he cited, it's all historical. It's a historical narrative. It traces the rise of Islamist terrorism and the failures inside U.S. intelligence agencies that led to the 9/11 attacks. So should we have, as a country, have known about the attacks prior to them happening? Yes, we should have. The FBI and one person knew about it. His name is John O'Neill, and he died in 9/11. It's very tragic, but he knew about it prior to 9/11. He tried to let the intelligence know, and simply put, the FBI and the CIA weren't really talking to each other that well. And so after 9/11, to ensure that that never happened, they traded more information, and that created the modern day intelligence state that we have now. So good news, bad news, right? These are effects of world events happening. The book weaves together the lives of key figures: Osama bin Laden, another person, Ayman al-Zawahiri, and Saeed Qutb. Shows the intellectual origins of jihadism. Wright shows how the individual Saeed Qutb, his disdain for Western materialism and secularism, inspired generations of radical Islamists. His ideas became the ideological foundation of Al Qaeda. The rise of bin Laden and Al Qaeda. The book tracks bin Laden, his youth as a privileged Saudi youth, to the leader of a stateless terror network, capitalizing on failed states, anti-American sentiment, and disaffected youth. His whole modus operandi was he had some money, and he gave money to young guys to have them join his organization. And he, through, he was very religious, and when you're very religious, you can inspire young people, and if you pay them, then they kind of have to follow what you say and follow what you do, and then he encourages them to carry out terrorist attacks. Osama bin Laden was born into wealth and privilege. He was the 17th son of Mohammed bin Laden, who was a billionaire, construction magnate, closely tied to the Saudi royal family. Rather than embracing the luxuries of modern life, Osama became devout, austere, and obsessed with Islamic purity from a young age. There was an anecdote I remember from that book that he was out playing soccer with all his friends, and he encouraged, he wore long pants to play soccer, and all his friends were in shorts, and he said, guys, we need to become more modest. And so he encouraged all his guys to wear long pants while they played soccer. And it's kind of like, you go like, why? It's because Osama wants us to, because it's very austere and religious. And so he had that power to influence people. And if you guys have ever known someone like this, if they're good, that's great. You don't mind adapting to the most conservative person's, if they have an influence on the group. But in his case, he used it, as you will see, to harm innocent people, and he praised young guys who wanted to kill people. That's bad. That's evil cult-like behavior. We don't like that here. Okay, in the book The Looming Tower, Lawrence Wright paints a chilling picture of bin Laden as a man haunted by ideology. He was deeply influenced by the radical teachings of Sayyid Qutb and later by the jihadist strategies of Abdullah Azzam, who preached that Muslims had a duty to wage holy war to defend their lands. Bin Laden's transformation begins in Afghanistan. In the 1980s, he went to fight in the Soviet-Afghan War. Now, do you guys know about the Soviet-Afghan War? Did you know that in the 1980s, Russia, the Soviet Union back then, was fighting against Afghanistan, and they lost? The Soviet Union lost. So Afghanistan won the war. They defended their territory. But this was a major cause in why the Soviet Union collapsed. 1989, 1991, they're no longer around. So America should not go to war with Afghanistan because Afghanistan has already fought off one major world power. That's one way to look at it. Okay? Osama did not join as a frontline warrior, but he was a financier and a networker. There, he formed Maktab al-Qidamat, the precursor to Al-Qaeda, which recruited fighters, raised funds, and forged global jihadist connections. After the war, bin Laden returned to Saudi Arabia, expecting to be honored as a hero. Instead, he was shut down politically, especially after he criticized the Saudi monarchy for allowing U.S. troops into the kingdom during the Gulf War. So I'm saying a lot of things here, and you guys may not know this history, but the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that whole area in the Arabian Peninsula was not very well, like it was kind of poor in the 60s and prior. But then there's something called the petrodollar. So I don't want to get too much into it. But basically Nixon in 1972, the US dollar was attached to the gold standard. And what he did is said that, no, it's now backed by the faith of the US government. So he detached the US dollar from the gold standard. And in effect, it got attached to something called the petrodollar from 1972 onward. So any nation out there that had oil could convert their oil to US dollars, and we would buy it from them and agree to that. So Saudi Arabia at that time had tons of oil, and they became very rich very quickly in the 70s by selling oil. And so that is why the Saudi kingdom and the prince, right now it's Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, and his father, but we're talking about years ago in the 80s. And that is where Osama bin Laden was originally from. Osama bin Laden had a very rich father. The rich father had like 54 children, a bunch of wives, a billionaire, very successful businessman, and was very close to the Saudi king's family. And so Osama bin Laden kind of had beef with the Saudi family, with the kingdom. So, yeah. And that's why he was shut down politically. So he criticized the Saudi monarchy. And the Saudi monarchy was working very closely with U.S. During the Gulf War. This caused Osama bin Laden to become disillusioned and radicalized, and he left Saudi Arabia permanently. So this is the nuance where it's like, hey, why were the 9/11 guys from Saudi Arabia? It's like, well, because Osama bin Laden technically was from Saudi Arabia, but Osama bin Laden had left his home country. He didn't get along with the Saudi monarchy, which was close with the U.S., and the Saudi monarchy so far is like not so bad. I mean, like I know there's critiques. It's still the Middle East, and the type of leadership and the things they do is, it's a different world. They don't have Western values in the same way that we do. But this is why Osama bin Laden is trying to create a stateless network. Al Qaeda, it's a terrorist network, and he recruits people, yes, from Saudi Arabia, but it doesn't matter that they're from Saudi Arabia. And then we in the West, Americans, were like, wait, if they're from Afghanistan or they're from Saudi Arabia, then we would declare war on those sovereign nations, right? Wrong. As it turns out, that's not what we did. We did not declare war on Saudi Arabia, even though the individuals that hijacked the planes were from Saudi Arabia. We did not go after the nation of Saudi Arabia because we were friends with them, with the monarchy. Do you see? And this is where Osama bin Laden is truly evil. I mean, he's truly like creating his own, like trying to create his own country, but the country doesn't have any sovereignty to it. Now, all of us, me included, and you now, we know a lot more about the way the Middle East works now than we did in the year 2000, 2001 when this terrible event happened, and then we decided to go into war.